Before I move forward, I would like to discuss about the representation of how the information is represented. So for example, if I take the Alex's array, right, so it's a shorter one, so you can kind of figure out. So for example, I take Alex's input 9 a.m. till 10:30, right? So in the input, it will be given like this. So for example, this is the Alex's array, right? Or maybe calendar one. So I'm just writing C1. So it will be given in the format of this. So for example, it's 9 a.m. till 10:30 p.m., right? So it will be in the format of a string, okay? So this is going to be 9 till 10:30, and this is also going to be enclosed within the string. The next one is 12 till 13, right? So next one will be 12 till 13. As simple as it can get, right? And then so on, whatever the input is. So you can kind of figure out, in Python we call this as list of lists, right? Or you can even kind of figure this out as a matrix, right? Because this is like a not really, yeah, it is a two-dimensional array definitely, but you can kind of figure out, right? So list of lists. In C++, it might be called as vectors of vectors, right? If I'm wrong, then you can correct me in the comment section. So definitely this is the type of input or the format of input you will be given in, or you will be given, right? And then you will be given also the Alex's start and end time. So for example, Alex's start and end time can be thought of as meeting duration 1, MD1, right? So meeting duration 1, and it will be a simple list consisting of two elements, which is from 9 till 20. 20 is basically 8 p.m., right? And I think if you have watched the previous video, you have already figured out what I'm talking about. Okay, now that we are done with this, this is the kind of input we will be given with, and definitely we will be given with one thing which is known as MD, so meeting duration of at least 30 minutes. So it will be basically 30 itself, right? And nothing else. Okay. Now notice the following steps which I'm going to write. So at first, I'm going to, if you have watched the previous video, you will reconnect what I'm trying to say. So at first, to the original calendar information, so for example, this was named as C1, right? So Alex's one is C1. For Sasha, it will be C2, right? So in C1, I'll be trying to make C1 and C2 on equal terms, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the arrays and append, right? So I'm just going to modify the arrays and append 0, 0 and the start time of the day, right? So the start time at 0th index, right? I'm just writing a kind of pseudocode, then I'll explain the code as well. If you understand this, you're good to go. So modify the arrays and append this much at the 0th index and basically end time and 23:59. Why 23:59 and why not 00? Because hey, 23:59 is the last moment of the day, right? That's why. At the end. Perfect, right? That's what I'm trying to do. And what is the start time and the end time here, right? So what is the start time and the end time here? Well, it's nothing but the Alex's start and end time, right? So basically 0 and up here 9 will be given and end time is 20. So from here it will be 20 till this much, right? That's it. As simple as that. Okay. Now we have done this. What we are going to do is basically try to convert the time into minutes. Why? Hey, because if you convert the time into minutes, we have something which is basically represented as a one kind of a thing. Why? See, what if I have a time of like 15:30? It means 3:30 p.m., right? And then we have time like 16:24, which means 4:24 p.m. Kind of sounds good to us, right? But when we are implementing, we can definitely do with that. We can definitely deal with that with some handling some cases. But hey, what if we have them in the minutes? So for example, what do I say? Okay, so let me just try to write it. So what do I say when I try to say I'm going to convert it into minutes? So what if I say that it's 1 a.m. right now, right? It means it's 60 minutes, right? 60 minutes into the day. Okay, 60 minutes into the day. Okay, what if I say it's 6 a.m. where I'm currently living at, right? So it means that 6 a.m. is basically 6 hours into the day. So 6 into 60 is basically 360 minutes. 360 minutes have been covered into the day. Okay, what if I write like this? So what if I write like it's 10 a.m. or maybe I can just modify this. So what if I write it's actually 10:30 a.m. where I'm currently living? So how many minutes into the day? It's going to be 10 hours plus 30 minutes, right? So 10 hours is basically 10 into 60 into 60 minutes plus 30 is basically 30 minutes itself. So this is going to be 600 plus 30, which is 630 minutes. So that's how I'm going to convert these timestamps into the format of minutes. Okay, so convert the time into minutes. That's it. That's our second step, and our first step has been already clear, right? After doing all of these steps, I think we should merge them, right? So I'll in fact merge both the calendars. Okay, so I'll just merge both of Alex's and Sasha's information or calendars, and then we are having one straightforward calendar, right? And then we can kind of proceed to flatten it, right? Flatten the merged calendar. Okay, that's it. And the last step, determine the available, right? Available or valid. So pardon for any spelling mistakes if I have made any. I'm sure I make a lot of spelling mistakes. So determine the available or valid timestamps satisfying the criteria, right? So, and what is the criteria? Criteria is, in this case, for example, meeting duration at least 30 minutes, right? So that's the criteria, nothing else. Okay, and I hope that's it. I mean, this is the entire algorithm which we will be following. Okay, even if I try to forget, or even if I try to even if I think I missed something, I'll just switch to this slide, and then I can just kind of figure out what I have to do. Okay, so let's just get started. So I'll just kind of hide this here. It looks good. Yeah, calendar matching.py. Okay, so I'll have a function called solve. Okay, and it is going to take basically two things. Let me just check it's in recording process. Yeah, so it's going to take calendar 1, right? And then it's going to take calendar 2, right? That's it. So for example, calendar 1 was for Alex and calendar 2 was for Sasha. Okay, and it's also going to take meeting duration 1, which is nothing but meeting duration 1, which is of Alex, and then meeting duration 2, which is of Sasha, right? So meeting duration 1 was nothing but, you can kind of figure this out as this thing. You can figure this out as Alex's start and end time. So kind of meeting duration 1 is Alex's start and end time. Meeting duration 2 is Sasha's start and end time. Okay. Now that we are done with this, we are also going to take into account the meeting duration. So I'll just write it as MD, and that's why I've written MD1 and MD2, right? So that's basically the input we are going to be given with, and I'll just write here. So MD1 is for Alex, MD2 is for Sasha, and yeah, MD1 is for Alex and MD2 is for Sasha, and then I can just write that MD is for I believe so MD is for the criteria, right? So basically in our input, it's like greater than 30 minutes. Okay, now how do I update this? Well, I just write calendar 1 is going to be update, right? So I'll just write update, and I'll just pass the information calendar 1, and I'll also pass meeting duration 1. Okay, then calendar 2 is going to be update, right? So I'll just pass calendar 2, and what should I pass, meeting duration 1 or meeting duration 2? Well, if I'm passing calendar 2, which is of Sasha, so I'll pass in Sasha's start and end time, right? So that's meeting duration 2, and I hope it's all clear. After that we have done this, let's see what our algorithm says, or what I have written. It's saying convert the time into minutes. Well, I'll be doing the first two steps, so I'll just write here, I'll be doing the first two steps in the update part, right? Or the update function, which I'll just create in a moment. You don't need to worry about that. So now I'll be having the merge part. So let's just write that. So my merged calendar is going to be merge. I'll just pass in one function called merge. I'll pass in calendar 1 and I'll pass in calendar 2. And I hope that makes sense. Now that we are done with first, second and third, I have to flatten the merged calendar. So I'll just write flattened calendar is going to be basically flatten. I'll just make a function like flatten and then I'll just pass in the merged calendar thing, right? And I hope that makes sense. Then we have basically pardon, the merged calendar has been done. Determine the available or valid timestamps satisfying the criteria, right? So basically I have to determine what are the valid timestamps. And again, this has been discussed in the kind of like the previous video where I have discussed the approach. Okay. So how do I do that? I'll just check that available, right? Available moments, right? So available moments is going to be determine availability, right? And then I'll just pass in the flattened calendar. As simple as that. Okay. And I think instead of flattened calendar, I mean, apart from flattened calendar, I should also pass MD, which is the criteria, right? So basically meeting duration of what? What is the criteria? Should the meeting duration be greater than 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes? What should it be? What should it be? So it's going to be greater than 30 minutes in our case, right? Now that we are done with this, I'll just simply return the available moments, right? How simple is the algorithm, right? But again, you have to be implementing the rest of the functions here. So let's get started with that one by one, right? We don't need to hurry. We'll just start with update 1. So define update, right? I think it's not taking the auto input thing. So update, and then we have parameter calendar, and then, okay, my bad. So this should be calendar, and then we have meeting duration 1. So I'll just write it as maybe meeting duration underscore, right? I'll just write it as meeting duration. It won't really conflict with the one which I have taken in the solve function. Okay. So define update calendar and meeting duration. So how do I update this, right? So basically my new calendar, okay, so this should be my new calendar, is basically a copy of the calendar, right? So a copy of the calendar, okay, right? We are on the right page. And so basically what I did here is, this is a copy of the original calendar, right? And yeah, it's recorded. Then what I'm going to do is basically try to append to the beginning and the end, right? What I'm going to append, again, I've discussed up here. So I'm just going to be appending in this format. So 00 and then the start time and then end time and 23:59, which is the last moment of the day. So I'll just write new calendar, right, is equal to, I'll just write it in kind of like a list formation here. It's going to be 0:00, comma, what will be here, right? So here it will be meeting duration, whatever it was for Alex or maybe Sasha, I'm taking into account, it should be the 0th one, right? Plus the new calendar itself, plus basically the meeting duration and the second one, right? The second information. And then I'll have 23:59. So 23:59. As simple as that. Now I have the new calendar. Now again, I have to convert the information in new calendar to minutes. So how do I do that? I'll just write for information in new calendar, right? So for information in new calendar, okay. So I have a start time of basically information of 0. So information of 0 is the start time and the end time is nothing but information of 1. Okay. And I hope that that's kind of making sense here, right? So I have a start time and an end time. I think I made a small spelling mistake here. It's okay. So information 0 and end time we have got. Now I have to convert the start time and the end time respectively to minutes. How do I do that? Well, consider this one thing. So basically, for example, take into consideration a start time of or a time stamp like this. I'll have 9 and 35. Okay. So how do I do that? First, I'll just split on the basis of this colon, right? So if I take into consideration the left part of the colon and the right part. So left part is going to contain the hour hand, right? So the hour hand will be in the left part, and to the right part of the colon will be the minute hand, right? So I have to multiply the hour hand into 60 and the minute hand into 1, because hey, we are converting into minutes, so I'll just leave it as it is. I'm just writing into 1. You can kind of leave it as it is. Okay. So what I'm going to do is kind of split the information, right? So how do I do that? I'll just write R1 hand, right, and then second one hand, right? So I'm talking about the start time, right? So I'll just maybe write start time. So STR is going to be start time dot split, right, on the basis of colon, and take the first part, right, and then the start time seconds, right, is going to be basically, well, I kind of think messed up here, so this is nothing but not minute, this is seconds, right, that's it. And I think basically, yeah, start time, and then this should be minutes. Perfect. And then I'll just have start time, right, and then I'll just split it on the basis of the colon, and I'll take the first, not the first one, but the second half of it, right? So I'm just representing it in the format of indexing, so 0 and 1. So what does this start time dot split does? Let me just show you. So what if the information was like this, right? So what if the start time was like this? So if start time is basically maybe like 9 and 50, right? Then if I do a start time dot split, right? So what will it do? Split. So it's going to split the information 950 into, it's going to split it as follows. Okay, so it's going to split it like this. So my new information will be 9 and then 50, right? As simple as that. Now that we know this, right? So okay, let me just check. I think I just kind of messed it up. So this is actually minutes, right? So 9:35, right? So 9 hours 35 minutes. Okay, my bad. So this is actually minutes. I was kind of confused here, but yeah, it's actually minutes. Okay. So basically this is going to be minutes itself. Okay, and not seconds. Okay. Now basically start time is 9:50. Start time dot split is going to give me 9 and 50, right? So what do I do? I'm just doing that. I'm just writing 0th index, right? So 9 is going to be assigned to start time hour, right? And then 50 is going to be assigned to start time minutes, right? And then what I'm going to do is simply write in the next step, start R is going to be basically int of start R, right, multiplied by 60. As simple as that. And my start time is going to be updated as start time is going to be updated as what? Let's see. Start time is going to be basically str of start R, right? So that's start R plus, right? And then now I can like simply have, okay, let me just correct this. So I think start time will be basically start time of R, right? Plus basically the minute hands, right? So it should be simply int start time minutes, right? I kind of messed up on that part, right? So 9:35 was actually 35 minutes, but hey, it's okay, right? So this is it. This is all about it. How do I, basically I'm just converting that into minutes, right? That's what I'm doing. So consider the start time thing here. So information of 0 is given, right? So start time is, for example, 9:50, and when I'm doing this operation, start time dot split, it's going to be created in the format of a small list of 2 integers or 2 strings, 9 and 50. So 9 is going to be assigned to start time R, so that's STR, right? 50 is going to be assigned to start time minutes, so that's ST minutes. Now the start time is going to be updated as start R, right? So start R was updated as int of start R. So basically int of 9 is 9 multiplied by 60, which is 450 minutes. And then start time is going to be 450 minutes. So basically 450 plus int of ST minutes. So int of 50 is 50. So 450 plus 50 is 500 minutes. So basically, if I'm saying that it's 9:50 a.m. at my place. It's actually 500 minutes into the day. Okay, that's what I'm trying to claim here. Now that we kind of understood what's happening here, right? I'm also going to be updating the end time here, right? But don't you think that I'm actually repeating the same information here? So what I'll do is I'll just create one small function here. So I'll just write start time is going to be get time, or maybe I'll just write time to minutes, right? So it's going to be converting it into time to minutes. What I'll just pass start time, right? As simple as that. And my end time is going to be again time underscore to underscore minutes, and then I'll have my end time here. And well, I'll just create one small function here. So I'll just name it as define time to minutes, and it's going to take time. So for example, t, right? So again, I'll just have the r hand here. So r hand will be basically t dot split, right? And this is going to be at the 0th index, the r hand. Then the minute hand will be basically t dot split, right? And this is going to be the second index. And then I'll just return as simple as int r multiplied by 60 plus minute, right? As simple as that. And again, I just don't need to write this entire stuff here. I'll just kind of get rid of it so that it's completely organized, right? So I wrote that there instead of creating the function, just so as to make you understand, right, what's happening. Now that we are done with this, I'll just reassign the information here. So information of 0 is going to be start time, and then information of 1 is going to be end time, right? And I hope that makes sense. Okay, just simply close this additional terminal which I opened by mistake. I'll just exit from this REPL here. So just clear this. Yeah, perfect. Now that we are done with this, I just want to emphasize that, well, we are done with the first two steps here, right? We are kind of merging the information to the beginning and the end of the array or the new calendar, and then we are kind of converting it into minutes. After this, I'm just going to return, right? So I'm just going to return the new calendar, right? As simple as that. Maybe just I'll try to have one space here. Yeah, perfect. I mean, I pressed the enter button, but let's go. I think I'm done with this part, right? So I'm done with maybe like the first two steps, right? So convert the time into minutes and modify the arrays. So the first two steps, I'll just mark it at red. This one and this one has been completed. Next step is merge both the calendars, right? So I have to merge them, right? And again, how I'm merging that is basically discussed in the approach part, right? So I'll just maybe like try to create one function here, small function. So define merge. And again, this is something which makes use of the merge sort kind of a concept here, right? So merge C1, C2, right? And maybe like I'll try to check again. Perfect. C1 and C2, my merged calendar will be merged calendar is actually empty as of now. Okay. I'll initialize two variables I and j. So these are the two pointers which will be pointing to the calendar 1 and the calendar 2. Well, if you're wondering what C1 and C2 is, so C1 is calendar 1 and C2 is calendar 2. I'll just write it in short, right? Because hey, that's okay. So while I is less than the length of the C1, right? So length of basically calendar 1, and j is less than the length of the calendar 2. In that case, my first meeting, right? First meeting is basically C1 of I, and second meeting is basically C2 of j. I'm taking the meetings from both the arrays and at particular indices I and j, right? And then I'll check that if the first meeting, right, at the 0th index is actually less than the second meeting, right? Maybe I can just introduce the equal to, right? Because that's also valid. Second meeting at the 0th index. So basically what does that 0th index means? I'm just comparing the start time here, right? So basically the start time of first meeting is less than the start time of second meeting. Well, you have the answer here. we have this merged calendar dot append basically the first meeting, as simple as that. And since I'm appending from the first meeting, I'll increase the ith index because hey, I is pointing to the first meeting here, right? Else merged calendar, so merged calendar dot append second meeting, right? And since I'm appending from second meeting here, so I'll be updating the jth index because hey, j is pointing to the second meeting. Now what will happen now if both of these first meeting and second meetings are of equal lengths? Then this loop, this while loop is kind of like a valid one, right? But what if first meeting is of length maybe like 5 and second meeting is of length 100, right? So what will happen is it's going to be at max taking 5 or 10 elements from both the arrays, and one of the meeting arrays will get exhausted, and there might be a possibility that there are other information, or there is other information available in the leftover array which we have not considered. So we have to be writing an individual loop for both calendar 1 and calendar 2 and kind of appending them to the merged calendar. So I'll just write while I is less than length c1, which is the calendar 1 here. Then in that case, merged calendar dot append c1 of I, and then I'll just increase the I. And again, I'll just check for this one. So if j is less than length of c2, right? Then I'll just append to the merged calendar information c2 of j, which is nothing but the information in basically the calendar 2, right, at the jth index, and then I'll just increase j. At the end of the day, what I'll do is try to return the merged calendar here. So return the merged calendar, right? So this merged calendar is going to be stored and returned to this information here, merged calendar, right? And now just by talking and trying to do some code here, we have done this part as well. So merge both the calendars has been done. The next step, okay, my bad, this looks bad. So merged both calendars has been done, and we are done with the first 3 parts. How good, right? And I think it's 30 minutes into the video, 30-ish minutes. So now we have to flatten the merged calendar, right? Again, flattening is very quite a good operation here, which you are going to perform. So I'll maybe like try to write the function definition here. So define flatten, right? And then we have the merged calendar here. So I'll just write simply merged calendar. I'll just take the pain to write the whole variable name. Okay. So define flatten merged calendar. Now let me just kind of recall what we have to do. So in flatten, we have to be kind of adjusting something, right? So what we are doing in flattening is basically this. So now we have in the format of minutes, right? Now we have the information in format of minutes. So what if I say the information is like this, 100 till 150, right? And then we have one information like 120 till 180, right? So we can kind of see here, if we kind of map this properly, so 100 till 150, right? And then 120 till 180, right? So 120 is falling in between 100 and 150. So I can write this entire information as 100 till 180, right? Okay, so I'll just recreate this 100 till 180. So this entire information, the two tuples can be written as 100 till 180, right? So this is kind of known as a flattening operation, right? If you have learned about linked lists, then you must have came across this concept, flattening a linked list, right? But that's something else we are trying to concentrate here. So this is known as a flattening operation, right? So I'll try to do this. What I'm going to do is basically maybe like create a flattened information, right? Or I'll just write flattened calendar, right? Flattened calendar. And since we have to flatten this, right? So maybe like let me try to figure out the algorithm. I'm just trying to think as a naive approach, right? I'm trying to think as a naive person. Okay. So 100, 150, 120, 180. What I'm trying to do, okay, I'll just try to initialize the first information. Okay. So I'll just write the information in the merged calendar. I'll take the first one, right? So merged calendar of 0. Perfect. Now I'll just loop in the merged calendar, right? And I'll start the loop at the 1th index because hey, we have considered the 0th index here. So I'll just write for I in range 1 till the length of the merged calendar, right? and I think, yeah, it's in the recording process. For I in range 1 till the length of the merged calendar, what I'll try to do is basically first I'll just try to create few variables so as to simplify the process and not make it complex, right? So my previous meeting is going to be flattened calendar of -1. Well, what does -1 means? Well, I'll just, instead of writing -1, I'll just write length of flattened calendar -1. Now you can figure out, right? Those who code in C++, Java or something like that, you can figure out I'm taking the last index in the flattened calendar array, right? And in Python, I can use -1 to access the last index. This is known as negative indexing, right? And if you are someone who has mentioned Python in your resume, this is one small tip. You have to be knowing these small stuffs, right? So negative indexing in Python helps in retrieving the last index in the array, right? So in this case, flattened calendar, I've written length of flattened calendar -1. Well, you can just write -1 in case of Python, right? So previous meeting is going to be this much, right? My current meeting, so my current underscore meeting is going to be merged calendar of I. So this is my current meeting. As simple as that. Now I'll just have few other variables. So I'll just write previous start and then previous end, right? So basically my previous start will be previous meeting of 0, and then previous end will be previous meeting of 1, right? And that kind of makes sense here. So my current underscore start will be, in fact, I'll just write current start and then I'll just initialize current end as well here. So this should be current meeting. This should be current meeting of the 0th index and then the current meeting of the 1th index. Now, before I write something here, I want to make something clear here. Okay, so previous end and previous start. Okay, perfect. So consider this example itself. So 100, 150, right? I'll just write it 100, 150, and then we have something as 120 till maybe 200. Okay, doesn't matter. So I'll just try to write this again. So 120 till 200, and hey, again this has been updated, right? So these are all in minutes format, right? Now that we know this, right? So my previous information is having the values like this. So my previous, so maybe I can just write previous start is 100. My previous underscore e, so end is 150, right? So that's this. This is this. My current, so curr start is basically 120, and my current end is basically 200, right? Hey, so that's this, right? Now, how do I do that, right? So here I was checking that 120 was in between 100 and 150. So how do I check that? Well, it's quite simple here, right? I'll check that if 120 is between 100 and 150. So what's the variable here? Or I can just simply check that if 120 is less than 150, I don't need to be considering this as well, right? So I'll just check that if 120 is less than 150, definitely it's in between kind of those two variables or the minutes timestamps, right? So how do I do that? 120 is initialized to current stamp or current start, and 150 is basically previous end. So I have to be making some comparison between previous end and current start. So if previous end 150 is greater than the current start 120, then I have to flatten it, right? So as simple as that. So I'm saying that if my previous end here is actually greater than equal to my current start, okay? So I'm saying that, I'll just go back to the slide. Yeah. So I'm saying that my previous end is greater than, so 150 is greater than equal to 120, right? So that's greater than symbol. Then I have to flatten. Then in this case, I'll flatten, else I'll skip and add the entire information to the flattened calendar, right? So in this case, what I'll be doing is I'll just initialize the last position, right? So the last position in my flattened calendar is basically flattened calendar length of flattened calendar -1, right? It's going to be simply this much. So my new array will be looking like what? So in this case, my new array was 100 till 200, right? That's what my new array was, 100 till 200. So what will be the new information here, right? So this will be previous start, right? So I'll just write here previous start, comma. Now you might be saying, hey, you're taking previous start here. Yeah, that's completely fine. So 200 is initialized to current end. So I can just simply write current end and we are done. We are quite happy here. But there is one exception here. What is that exception? Consider what if I have like this. So instead of, I'll just have the same information in the first part, 100 and 150. What if I have something like this, 90 and 120? So I'm checking that is 150 greater than equal to 90. So if is 150 greater than equal to 90, then according to my algorithm or according to my code here, right, previous start and current end will be the new information. So my information will be 100 and 120, which is actually wrong here, right? I can just simply write 100 and 150 because this whole information 90 till 120 is fitting in between these, right? Or maybe I can like change this to maybe 110 here, right? So kind of we are on the same page. So this should be basically, I'm checking that is 150 greater than equal to 110. Yeah, it is, right? So basically in this case, my answer will be, or my flattened list will be 100 till 120, right? But hey, I can just improve this and write 100 and 150, right? So my information up here will be not current end, but it should be max of what? Max of 120 and 150. So 120 was current end, right? And 150 is nothing but previous end. So this should be max of current end and previous end. So I'll just write previous end, right? As simple as that. Else what I'll be doing is simply flattened calendar dot append whatever the heck my current meeting is. So this is going to be current meeting, as simple as that. And at the end of the day, right, I'll just simply return my flattened sort of a calendar array, right? So flattened calendar, as simple as that, right? And just by talking and discussing some lines of code with a few examples, we have covered the fourth step as well, right? So we are done with the kind of like sort of fourth step as well, right? And at the end of the day, we are left with kind of this information: determine the available or valid timestamps satisfying the criteria. Perfect, right? Let's figure it out. How do we write that? We are left with this one, right? So determine availability. I'll try to make this function here. So I'll just try to copy this because I'm kind of feeling lazy here. I'll just write define, Control V, pasted. Okay. And then, so this is my basically MD's meeting duration. So I'll just have like meeting duration. I'll just write it finally for the first time here. Flattened calendar, right? Now I have the flattened calendar and the meeting duration, right? And again, the flattened calendar is the shorter version of the merged calendar in the format of minutes, right? So determine availability. Let's see what we can do. Okay. Now I'll have my valid schedule here. So schedule. I don't think that's the right spelling, but hey, I'll just have maybe like valid array. Just have valid array. Perfect. Now that we have the valid array here, what I'll be doing is looping in the flattened calendar. So for I in range 1 comma length flattened calendar, why I'm taking from 1 till the very end and not from the 0th index? Well, I'll be comparing this. I'll be comparing this. So after the flattening operation, so for example, 100 till 150 is one information, and for example 180 till maybe 200 is the next information, and then so on it's going on, right? So on it's going on. So what I'll be comparing, how to determine what's the gap between two meetings. I'll just take, this is the first meeting, right? So first meeting, this is the second meeting. So I'll take the end time of first meeting and the start time of second meeting and check the gap. So 150 and 180. 180 minus 150 is basically 30 minutes, which satisfy our criteria. So I'll just take that, right? So I'll add 150 and 180 in my answer because hey, that's the time duration when both of them are available, right? Alex and Sasha are available, or the two persons are available. So I'm just going to simply write basically first time, right? So the first timestamp is going to be flattened calendar of I minus 1 and the end time of, or the end aspect of that tuple, and then we have kind of like a second time is going to be flattened calendar of the current index, and the take the starting time. So 0 is the starting time, 1 is the ending time. That's why we have first time. And why I minus 1? Well, we are accessing the previous one. As simple as that, right? And I hope that's all clear. I'll check that if second time minus first time, right? So I'll just kind of enclose that in rounded brackets. It looks good. Is actually greater than equal to the meeting duration, right? Then in that case, I'll just have the information. So valid array dot append what? I'll just append first time and then second time, right? As simple as that. Now that we are done with this, I'll just simply return valid array. Now, what's the case here? We are done with this. We are done with this entire code. But what's the case here? Now that I've returned the valid array, so my valid array will look like this, right? 150 and 180. But hey, the interviewer said that you have to be having the answer in this format. So output is 11:30 till 12 and then so on, right? So how do I convert that? Well, you can pause the video and think of an approach as of now. So I can give you like a minute or so. You can just pause the video, take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, think of an approach. But it's quite simple, right? So I think I should just discuss it here. So how do I convert this 150 and 180 to their respective timestamps, right? So 150 can be thought of as I have to convert 150 into hours, right? So 150, so I'll just write 150 and do floor division by 60. How much is that? That's 2 hours, right? So that's 2. How do I compute the minutes, right? How do I compute the minutes here? It's as simple as this. So I'll just do 150 modulo 60, right? Here's when the mathematical aspect comes into play. So 150 modulo 60 will be basically 30. So this is nothing but 2 hours and 30 minutes, right? So this is 2:30. So this is basically 2:30 a.m. right? What is 180? 180 is basically 180 by 60, that's 3 hours, and 180 modulo 60, that's 0. So this is nothing but 3 a.m. So this timestamp kind of suggests me this is a timestamp from 2:30 till 3. And this is how my output is going to look like. Okay. So I'm just going to do that. So instead of returning the valid array here, what I'm trying to do here is I'll just loop in this thing, right? So I'll just loop in. So for info in valid array here, right? So for information in valid array, basically I'm just accessing the information which is represented in the format of minutes. So what I'll do, okay, maybe I'll just have like this. So time 1, or maybe I'll just have info of 0 is going to be time to hours minutes, right? And then I'll just pass info of 0, right? That's my first parameter, and then I'll just pick the second one as well and try to pass it. So time to hours minutes, because hey, we are trying to convert the time which is in minutes to hours and minutes, right? That's what we are trying to do here. And now that we are done with this, I can just simply return the valid array. How to implement this function? Again, you can pause the video or you can just simply watch as of now. So time to hours minutes, and this is going to be simply taking some information, right? So this is going to be taking an information like t, right? This is the time as of now. So what will be my hours? So my hours, so I'll just write HRS, or I can just simply write hours, is going to be t by 60. So basically in Python, the symbol is integer division. In your case, it might be floor, right? You might have to write floor in some information right here. So some info, right? That might be in your case. So if I talk about the minutes one, we are probably at the end of the video, so I'll make sure we are on the recording page. Perfect. So minutes will be basically t modulo 60, right? That's what we have discussed in this the whiteboard part, right? That's what we discussed here. So now that we have the minutes here, there's one small problem which might arise, right? So there is this one small thing here, that what if the time is 1:23, right? So what will be my hours? So my hours will be as simple as 123 by 60. So that's 2 hours, right? What will be my minutes? You might say, okay, minutes is as simple as 123 modulo 60. So that's round about 3 minutes. What I'm trying to do here is I can just write 2 and 3 here, right? But hey, that's completely wrong, right? If you write it like this, you can add several zeros here. So that means 2 hours 30 minutes. But this is 2 hours 3 minutes. So I'll check that if the length of the minutes or the minutes is less than 10, then I'll add it like this: 2, 0 and then 3, right? That's what I need to consider here. Okay, so I'll check that if minutes is less than 10, in that case my minutes hand will be basically str, or maybe I can just simply write 0 plus str of minutes. Else I'll leave it as it is. So for example, if my minutes is 35, it's okay, 235. But what if my minutes is 6, right? So I cannot just simply write 2 and then 6, because that's 2 hours 60 minutes, close to 3 hours, right? So I'll have to write 2:06. So that's what it's taking into consideration. So if minutes, basically, for example, minutes is 5. So is 5 less than 10? Yes. So minutes is going to be 0 and 5, right? That's what I'm trying to do here. And then I can just simply return str. So that's type conversion here. Hours plus will have a colon symbol here plus str of minutes, right? And hey, we are done with the entire code here. I'll just try to highlight something here. So basically we are done with the okay, I'll just kind of zoom out and check where have I written that information. Yeah, it's right here, right? So we are kind of done with this information, right? We are done with the determining part. So this is the entire algorithm or the entire code for the calendar matching. Well, it was a little longer, but hey, I wanted to explain it from each and every perspective, right? So that's it. And even I tried to make small functions for each and every operation, right? And this is going to set you apart in the interview from other candidates, right? So for example, I believe so in some case like this one, right? So in this case, I was trying to write it up here itself, but then again, I modified it, right? I kind of wrote some small function here, and that's going to set you apart in the long term, on the long run, and even in the interviews, right? So this was about the entire code, and even I could just try to execute it, but hey, you can try to do that on your own. That's your part, okay? So I believe the video was helpful, and then maybe I will try to introduce new concept or new interview question in the next video. So thank you for watching, and if you like the video, you can kind of subscribe or turn on whatever the YouTubers say. I don't remember, but hey, it's okay. Thank you.